I left California 60 days ago, and this is what happened. Now, a lot of things have happened in the last 60 days, not only for myself and where I decided to go, but also in the state of California and the country of the United States that I just left. Now, in this video, I'm gonna break down what it's been like for the first 60 days, what I've had to deal with, the problems that I've had, the things I've had to overcome. I'm gonna talk about the reasons why you might wanna consider moving and ways that you can identify what that criteria is. I'm gonna talk about the problems that I've had, and if you're thinking about finding a plan B or another place to live, things that you need to consider. I'm gonna talk about how we've overcome those things and the tips that I would have for you to succeed no matter where it is that you're going, and so much more. So stay tuned. All right, just real quick, if you are new to the channel, my name is Mark Moss, and I make these videos because I want to change the way you think about money. Because if you get the money part right, then the freedom for yourself and your family, it all comes after. It's so important that you get this right. Now, a few months ago, I made a video talking about why I was leaving California, where I was going, and you can watch that entire video right here if you want. It had about 250,000 views, and so I've gotten so many requests for a follow-up on that video, and so here it is. Let's go ahead and do that. So first off, I don't want to completely go over all the stuff again that I covered in that video. So go ahead and watch that if you want. But if you didn't watch the first video, I'm just going to briefly cover it. All right. So the first thing is that I've built my investing career off of a thesis that I've said that I believe that money goes where it's treated best. And so what that means is that every time I'm looking at a new investment, I ask myself, is this the very best place for my money? And then I'm always reevaluating that. And so if it's whatever asset it may be in, I'm gonna ask myself, is this the best place for my money to be right now? And if not, I'll change that. Now, I've also taken that to be for my life as well now. And so I should go where I'm treated best. And so, you know, I started seeing all these people leaving California. I'd been there for a really long time, and I had to start asking myself, am I being treated best here? Is it a good place to run a business? Is it business friendly? Is it tax friendly? How is it for the families? Now, you've seen plenty of people that have been leaving California in droves, heading out to Texas, heading out to Florida, things like that. And, you know, at some point, everybody reaches their breaking point. And a couple things. One is that California has the highest taxes in the nation. A lot of states don't even have a state tax, and California has the highest state tax, and they're looking to increase that state tax right now, which will make them not only the highest state tax in the country, but about double number two. So really, really high. And then what are you getting for those taxes? I mean, you have the highest homelessness rate, you know, one of the biggest deficits in the country. And so it's just not that good. On top of it, obviously with the last year and how things have been going with the lockdown, it's been the strictest state in the entire country. And as of today, at the time of this recording, it is still the strictest state. You can't basically do anything there. And so just figured, well, I guess we'll go like everybody else. We could go to Texas, we can go to Florida, we can go to Nevada and cut our state taxes. But it's like, well, I don't know anybody in those areas. I'm a surfer, so I want to be somewhere that there's waves, somewhere on a beach. And Florida and Texas don't really have that. Like I said, I don't really know anybody there. And so, well, if I'm going to go anywhere, why not go all the way to Puerto Rico? Which is where I'm at. I'm in Puerto Rico. And so in Puerto Rico, I'm not going to get into the details, but basically there's a tax situation as a territory of the United States. And not only can I reduce my state taxes, but I can actually reduce my federal income taxes. It's the only option for Americans to do that. And so I can pay a combined total income tax of only 4%, which is pretty amazing. And I pay 0% cap gains because I came here, I started a business, I employ people, etc. Now, we chose Puerto Rico because it seemed to fit for us. All right, so this is the part that you need to kind of think about. And I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of requests of people asking me why. But see, everybody has their own DNA, right? I talk about being your own investor DNA. And so what's the best investment for you? Well, it depends on you, right? And so where's the best place for you to live? Well, it just depends, right? So for us, I'm a surfer. I wanted to be somewhere there's waves. I wanted to be somewhere where there's good weather. But maybe for you, that's not the case. Maybe you love the mountains. Maybe you love where it snows, right? Or whatever. Maybe you really looking for a lower cost of living. Maybe you're really looking for lower taxes, which is one of the things I was looking for. Maybe it's just that you want to live wherever you want. And so now, especially after the pandemic has happened, basically remote working is like here to stay. And so now we're seeing people flock to places like Wyoming or Idaho because they've always wanted to live there, but they didn't have a job. But now they can live there and still work in Silicon Valley. And so the reasons why you might move are probably going to be different than the reasons why I would move. And so you have to understand the reasons why and what you're looking for, all right? But let me tell you about the first 60 days and exactly what's happened. Now, I would say overall, in the first 60 days, it's been pretty good. Everybody here has been very friendly. That's been pretty good. I would say if I was going to compare it to something, it's kind of like being in Hawaii. It's basically the same latitude, so it's kind of the same weather with a little bit of Mexico. So you kind of have the island vibe, the island feel, the same weather, but you see a lot of signs in Mexico and things like that. However, because it is a territory of the United States, you have all the American stores and all the conveniences, so Costco and Walmart and Sam's Club and Home Depot, Ross, I mean, you name it, we have all those stores. And we have a lot of the American chain restaurants as well. So you see like Sizzler and Burger King and Applebee's and all that stuff over here as well. The island itself has been, surprisingly, it's much bigger than you would think it is. It's about 3 hours to drive from one end to the other. It's pretty crowded. So everywhere you go, there's a lot of people. It's pretty slow. But like I said, the weather's been amazing. The people have been great. And so that part's been good. Now, the first 30 days, what we did is we didn't know where we wanted to live. Like I said, the island's pretty big and we didn't know where we wanted to live. So the first 30 days we went into a Airbnb, into a vacation rental. And basically on the island, there's a few different places that have kind of like American enclaves. And so we thought, well, we'd probably want to be in one of those areas. But there's only one area where the waves are really good, so that kind of narrowed it down for us. But I wanted to rent for a while so we can kind of get a feel for it. But as the rental was coming up, as our 30 days was coming up, we started realizing that like trying to find long-term housing was going to be very, very difficult for us. The real estate market is on fire here, just like in many other places around the country and the world. And so it started becoming very hard for us. And so we thought, shoot, we can't get a long-term lease. Everything's like vacation rentals. And so maybe we have to buy. So we started looking at things that we could buy. We looked at so many houses. We literally got to the point where I was like, we may have to go back home, like back to California. We can't even find a place here. But anyway, we were able to find a 12-month lease, which was pretty good. And so we finally got the housing part figured out. Now, the next part is, okay, great. So we got a house. Now what do we do? Well, just like anything else, we have to go buy everything. We decided not to ship everything from California over to Puerto Rico, and so we had to start buying things. We found that is a little bit more difficult than it would be in California or probably somewhere else in the United States. You're on an island, so you don't have as much options as you normally would. A lot of the stores, they don't stock things, so you have limited choices. A lot of stores have very limited choices of what you can get right away. Otherwise, it could be months and months on back order. Another big thing to get used to was that we're pretty used to Amazon being able to deliver in one day, and it takes Amazon about 2 weeks to deliver here, so it still does come here, but it's about a 2-week delay. So I would say overall, you just have to get used to living in a different culture. Now, if you've traveled to other parts of the world, you kind of get this, but as an American, especially in Southern California, you're used to just going all the time. And when you move to another country, which we spent a lot of time down in Mexico, it's very similar. Everything just runs a little bit slower. We used to say it runs on Mexico time, Mexican minute they'd call it, and here it's just island time. What we learned from the locals is they said, only plan to do one thing per day. So instead of making a whole list of errands that you need to run, instead, come up with one thing that you want to do, take a book, and then go there and do that. So just slowing down, being used to it, it's not that big of a deal once you get used to it. Now let's talk about the next part, which is the business. So the business part was pretty easy. My business is all virtual, so mostly through investing and education. And so I was able to just basically shut the corporations down in California, and we were able to open up new businesses, new corporations here in Puerto Rico. In order to do that, we used a professional, which I'd always advise you to do. So we use like one of the top legal and tax firms that's here on the island. And not only one of the top firms, but they also have concierge services. So they have people that help you do basically everything that you need to do, whether it's people inside the bank, real estate agents, car buyers, somebody at the DMV to go get your driver's license. All of those things are done through concierge. But this has probably been one of the biggest frustrations that I've had, and I've talked about this on other videos, but one of the biggest frustrations has been the banking situation. And so it took 28 days to get my bank account opened, and that's with having a concierge banker. That's somebody inside the bank. And so there was dozens of forms, hundreds of questions to answer, and it still took 28 days to get the bank account opened. And as of the time of this recording, which is now well into March, I still don't have a debit card or checks or even online access for my account. So money is going into the account, but I don't have a way to access it as of today. So here we are in March doing that. And so that has been the biggest frustration. Getting the corporation up and running, easy. Getting the bank account going, very, very difficult. And so the reason why I want to talk about that specifically is because a lot of people are having this interest in moving, whether you want to move states, whether you want to move to a different country, and whatever your motivation for that may be. A lot of people see that the country is going downhill. Maybe the state's going downhill. Maybe the country's going downhill. Maybe people think they need to have a plan B, or maybe it's just that you want to move somewhere cheaper, somewhere with better weather, somewhere without state taxes, or something like that. And so whatever the reason why you want to have a plan B, my advice is that you start looking first. And so we kind of came over here, got our 30-day rental, and figured we can get everything handled within that 30-day period. And that just wasn't the case for us. And so it would have been much better if we would have started looking much sooner. All right. And especially if you want to have a plan B, like a bug out spot. So I know a lot of people thinking that, they can disappear to another country, Mexico or Caribbean island. But if you don't know exactly where you want to go, and when I say exactly, I mean to like what country, what city, what town, what house, if you don't have that figured out in advance, then the chance of you being able to get there and go there goes down dramatically. And so, especially like I said, if you're starting with another country, like in Puerto Rico, start at least 90 days in advance. The other thing I would say, warning in advance, is you have to mentally prepare for the culture difference. Now, like I said, we spent lots of time in Mexico, other countries as well, always chasing waves, so in kind of like third world countries. And so we're pretty used to that. We're used to being on that kind of Mexico time, that island time. But even still, we weren't really prepared for it, not mentally. And so you just need to know that it's going to be nice, it's going to be slow, and you just have to be able to lower your expectations. And I think if you do that, then you're going to be set up for success. Now, like I said, here we are, we're about 60 days in, and things are starting to go pretty smooth. We have the house set up, we have our furniture set up, I have my office set up, the bank account's all coming together, and so things are finally moving. And that's the 60-day update for being in Puerto Rico. Of course, we've been enjoying the weather, enjoying the ocean. The water's crystal clear, turtles swimming, whales jumping, the restaurants are amazing. And so island life isn't so bad after all. And of course, saving all that money on taxes has been pretty good. So that's the update for living in Puerto Rico, 60 days. We'll go ahead and update you again maybe in a couple of months from now. If you want to see more behind the scenes stuff of what it's like, kind of like on a day-to-day basis living in Puerto Rico, follow my Instagram account. I'm going to link to it down in the description below. I'm doing a lot of lives and a lot of posts and pictures and things like that. So if you want to kind of see more behind the scenes on what it's like to live on an island in the Caribbean in Puerto Rico, follow me on Instagram. All right. And other than that, I'll see you later. To your success. I'm out.